Good afternoon. April 7th, 2015 meeting of the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust to be in order. First item of business is the first item on the agenda was a resolution of appreciation to Councilman Ryan, who is today's his last day on the City Council. But we did the resolution of appreciation on the council agenda, so we're not going to do it again. He has a doctor's appointment and not going to be able to be here today.
Well, I still think we should approve it, shouldn't we?
What?
Shouldn't we approve the resolution? I think we should.
We need to adopt it.
You think we really ought to?
I think we should.
Okay.
I move we adopt the resolution.
All right.
I would second that.
Have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Voting, please. Resolution is approved. It's my understanding there may be some possibility that the resolution was premature and he may stay on for a while as a trustee, which I hope happens, frankly. The next item is the approval of the minutes from the March 17th meeting.
Move that we adopt the minutes.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the March 17th minutes. Are there questions or comments? Hearing none, voting, please. Minutes are approved. Next item is the consent docket.
Move the consent docket subject to individual consideration.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Chairman, staff asked that you strike item 4O. It's a Project 180 amendment that the staff has, since putting the item on your agenda, has discovered a minor error in the totals for the project and wants to correct those totals and bring this item back to you. I believe you may strike or defer, but I think striking is the more clear action.
For which one?
4O?
4A.
Oh.
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's in out.
4O.
Thank you.
I'll accept the motion to approve the consent docket subject to having stricken item O, if that's fine. Are there items on the consent docket that need to be discussed separately? Now that's where we'll miss Pat right there. He always had something to discuss separately.
I promise to still study just as hard.
All right. Hearing none, voting please. Consent docket's approved. The next item is a concurrence docket, or it's actually the emergency construction docket, I think.
I move the emergency construction contract.
We don't have 4 votes.
We don't have enough people here, so that'll
So
be.
let's strike that.
I move that we strike number 5.
All right.
Second. Or defer.
Defer it, whatever.
I can't vote twice.
Except there's a motion to defer. We have a second.
Second.
Voting please. Item deferred till 2 weeks. Next item, items for individual consideration, is a presentation by FSB concerning the 1 North Walker building renovations.
Hello, Alan Brown with FSB. We're going to go through the design for the first floor of the Sherrod Walker parking garage space, 1 North Walker, calling it. The scope of the project, the first thing we did was to analyze the building and the condition of it for the utilities department, and did space programming on the ground floor. It's about 22,000 gross square feet, and the idea was to relocate the customer service call center, utilities application support, SCADA, and training and provide a training and meeting center space. Some of the features that we incorporated into the design include open office planning. You'll see just in just a second. Reconfigurable systems, furniture, workstations. We've incorporated sound control into it. It's a large open space, so we have a sound masking system in the space, and then we have structural insulation, since it's a parking garage, on the bottom of the deck above the space that's made for parking garages. And then on the exterior of the space, we've reworked the glazing in the first floor only to provide new new windows and also some intermediate columns you'll see in a second to subdivide that facade, and provides natural light into the call center and also security. We provided a alternate in the bid for resist kind of a strengthened glass on that ground floor area. We're just concerned about, since it's all glass, about some sort of projectiles and that type of thing. The fourth item is a reconfigurable training center. It's 3 spaces that have folding walls that will be able to subdivide the space into small, medium, large spaces, provide seating in a classroom configuration for 24 up to 96 seats. So that's our program. This is the east facade of the parking garage. You can see, don't have it before, but you can see it's pointing to the lower floor. It's kind of a charcoal gray glass. You'll be able to see into the space somewhat. It is tinted, but it's not reflective as it is now. This meets the downtown business district guidelines. And then we have intermediate concrete columns which subdivides the window wall into 3 spaces between the columns. Very similar on the south facade along Sheridan. This is the floor plan that I was just describing. The large area on the bottom is the customer service area, and you can see all the workstations. That's approximately a 12-foot clear to structure space that'll be open to the deck above. In the center is the support spaces, conference room, offices, and on the right side a new break room. The restrooms are existing. They've been redone, but they're the existing location. Directly above that is the training center. The 4 spaces, subdividable into 4 spaces. To the left is application support. To the right, at the top, is the SCADA IT area, upper right portion of the plan. But the entry on the lower left leads to a corridor that's going to be secure, so other groups can use the training center and come into the space, and the work areas will be secured from the corridor space. This is sort of a 3-dimensional view of it, kind of get a feel for the workstations in the customer service area. That training meeting area you can see there is underneath the ramp that's going up, so it has an interesting configuration. The ceiling levels will step up to a high space on the south. There'll be a section through there in a second. I'll show you. This is the customer service area. See the open plan. This is the section I was referring to through the training center. On the top, as if it's open into 1 space. The projection screen will be on the left, and then in the center is a medium and a small space, 24, 72, or down the center, 248 seat spaces. And on the bottom is subdivided into 4 small spaces of 24. You can see the ceiling level on the right is lower than on the left because of the ramp above. And then the summary of the project, the schedule and budget. It's approximately 22,000 square feet. The construction cost estimate is $2,687,032, about $105 a square foot. And we have 2 add alternates I mentioned. The first one is for security film on the exterior glazing. And then the second one is a lot more. It's actually for security glazing, which is, quote, bulletproof glass, basically. The next item, there'll be a separate bid for furnishings, fixtures, and equipment. And the Utilities Department has divided that into initial and future, mainly in the call center area, customer service. $732,425 initial throughout the facility, and then expansion in the future of $196,215. The construction bid period, of course, 60 days after notice to proceed to the bids received, and then construction period, we're anticipating about 9 months after a contract award. on the 1st of next year or spring next year. So, are there any questions?
Marcia, when did you buy that space?
4 years ago?
We started occupying it as lease space in 07, 08, and about 2 years ago, we purchased it.
So, okay. And so are you going to abandon the second floor of 420?
We're just does move our staff off the second floor permanently to 1 North Walker, the space that we bought with that in mind. Well, we know that there's a lot of competition for this space in 420, and we're figuring out whether we need to come back to you with additional space for engineering or whether we can accommodate them in other places in this space.
Okay.
This project does include a new chiller up on the roof of the parking garage for the space.
Any other questions or comments? This is not an action item, is it? Okay.
The next item.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is a resolution. A2 is the plan to expect to be advertised for bids.
Move the approval.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve item 6A2. Are there discussion? Hearing none, voting, please. It's approved. Next item, item 6B, is a resolution establishing a policy directing staff to procure professional services from local Oklahoma City area providers when and as determined by trustees to be in the best interest of the city, Water Utilities Trust, and its beneficiary, the city of Oklahoma City.
Move approval.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the resolution. Is there discussion? Hearing none, voting, please. Item C, resolution recommending the city adopt ordinance amendments relating to parks, et cetera, pertaining to the restrictions on game fish.
Mr. Chairman and trustees, this item proposes to set new limits for catch sizes and volumes of the lake to protect the fishability of the lakes.
And this has come through Fish and Game and parks and all that.
So specifically, what does it do again?
So it's setting new limits for the minimum size fish you can take out of the lake, and also based on the type, species of fish that it is,
Okay.
to help, I used a poor term, to help maintain the fish stock in the lake at a reasonable level.
Move approval.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the resolution. Voting, please. Resolution is approved. Next item is a revocable right-of-way use permit with the city and the Oklahoma City Marathon. Consider it to hold the Oklahoma City Memorial Marathon on April the 26th.
And that comes here because it's on the lake reservation property of Lake Heflin?
Correct.
Have we always done this? Every year?
Well, the first year for we did that.
Okay. All right. Move the item.
I'll move approval.
Have a motion.
We actually have two motions, but
Yes, Carl seconded.
yours was a second.
Oh, I didn't know you'd already made that.
Okay. A motion and a second to approve the item.
Second, yeah.
Voting, please. Item's approved. We do not need executive session. I understand this item should be stricken. Have a motion to strike.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to strike. Next item from trustees. Any comments from trustees? General Manager's report. Fiscal year 15 monthly pro forma.
Mr. Chairman, just very quickly on the pro forma, what you'll see is that our overall income is a little off. It's about in total about $3.6 million for water and sewer combined. That translates to lower water use, however, so we're still in a good position financially at the bottom line.
Any comments? Next item is
I move we receive our fiscal year's status report.
Second.
Motion and a second to receive this is A, 8A.
Yes, sir.
Voting, please. Report's received. Next item is accessing Oklahoma City Lakes for fill material.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, periodically, as lake levels have dropped, we've received requests for removal of the silt material that's collected in Lake Hefner and Lake Oberholser particularly. And so this report is focused on those two lakes. We found through previous reports that dredging is a very difficult and complex activity to take large volumes of silt out of the lake. However, it may be possible for citizens who wish to take a little material for filling in, for fill material, it may actually be able to take that on some sort of controlled basis. What we present in the report are 3 different locations, 3 different possible take locations. One on the east side of Lake Hefner, near the East Wharf Cove that holds a few sailboats. One on the west side of Lake Hefner, just north of the golf course, and a third on the northeast corner of Lake Oberholser. A key factor in how this might be done is actually removal of sediment from the bottom of the lake, and how to do that simply. So we explored the question of that arose about whether a 404 permit would be required from the Corps of Engineers to do this. What we learned is probably the limiting factor for this activity, which is a 404 permit could be required would be required if we stockpiled materials in the lake bottom, and in other words, had one entity digging and another stockpiling it and putting it into a vehicle. If, however, you picked up a scoop of dirt and you put it directly in the carrying device, that it did not require a 404 permit. I'm happy to, I'd love to take feedback about this and your thoughts about how to explore this.
It seems to me that option 1 would be a more natural solution than option 2. Option 2, you would have issues with the recreation trails and parking lots and that.
It's true.
Whereas you wouldn't have that, I think, to that level on option 1. Option 1 of Hefner's, which I'm referring to. But we don't need ordinance changes to accommodate this?
There's some flexibility in ordinances. One of the major concerns is how the people get their vehicles to the lake, and there is a provision in there which prohibits generally the driving vehicles except on improved roads. There is an exception where it's authorized by the utilities director. The question would become how we would manage that control factor. There is also provision regarding digging at the lakes, which was adopted back about 10 or 12 years ago when we had the Rose Rock problem. And so we restricted some then, and so we would need some authorization there.
Ordinance authorization?
I believe we're going to need some ordinance authorization.
Okay. But 404 permits were okay as long as they're just taking it out?
Yes, and doing it as simply as possible.
Okay. I guess I'd like to see us go forward with this. I'd like to see an ordinance change to accommodate that, but I'd like to kind of put it out as a pilot project, run it for a year or something like that, and see what happens, so that we're not, if we have problems with it or something, we're not obligated long term. So we'll run it for a year and report back on what the benefits and issues have been, and then we can continue to go make that a decision point on whether to go forward.
Explain how it would actually work if we go forward with this. Do we know we have to devise a more sophisticated plan? I have a hard time seeing how it would ever be very practical if the individual had to go dig it themselves. I mean, it would almost seem to me you'd have to some way get it to a point where they could come load it in the back of a pickup or something, as opposed to. Is that contemplated? Is that what we're...
Well, I think we brought forward for discussion. In a controlled setting, we do have front-end loaders and backhoes in our equipment pool. If
I think it was more envisioned that you would have somebody because if you're not going to make any difference taking some big pickup truckloads of dirt out of there. What you're going to need is construction projects sometimes need fill, and this is facility fill that probably could be used in certain circumstances. They need to have somebody that have a couple of dump trucks and have their own backhoe or their front-end loader in there, and they'd fill them up for the benefit of their project, and then they'd go away. But we can pursue other options, too. I mean,
Well, I think it bears looking into. If for nothing else, the idea that the lakes continue to lose capacity. I know this report says that wouldn't make an impact on that, but that may be scientifically true, but perceptually it's not true. For I can tell you, that nobody believes that but us.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that that's true.
And so if people had an opportunity to use it anybody had an opportunity to use it, I think it'd offset some of that. Okay. Well, we need a motion to receive the report.
well, I make a motion to receive the report and authorize staff to go forward with a ordinance change and pilot program.
Motion and second to do what the manager said. Voting, please. It's approved. Citizens to be heard. Hearing none, we're adjourned. Thank you.